Welcome back to another episode of Activate Your Divine Power. So, I'm your host, Lisa, and I am so freaking excited to introduce to you an OG in the spiritual community today. Her name's Stephanie Bellinger, and she is a spiritual mentor and activator for soul-led leaders and the creator of Spiritual Boss Babe, one of the OG online communities and podcasts for spiritual entrepreneurial women, serving tens of thousands of women around the world. Stephanie works with spiritual coaches, mystics, channelers, and healers, supporting them with standing out in the online space, spreading their message like wildfire, opening their multidimensional gifts, and creating a life and business that sets their soul on fire. Mine is already lit. I'm so excited for this conversation. Welcome to the podcast, my love.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, today we're going to dive into a few topics around channeling, SOULcial Media, which I love, SOUL Media, and embodying your star power. But before we dive into that, I would just love for you to share a little bit about your journey and, what led you on this path of spiritual entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So I think for as long as I can remember, I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I have always identified as being an artist. Growing up, I felt like I had a God-given gift, if you will, of creativity and art. And I kind of intuitively knew that I could just do my own thing from pretty early on. And I didn't actually do that because I went on my own path, and experimented with a lot of different things. But essentially, I had that entrepreneurial spirit going in the background, but I was also on my own path, very much so, of spiritual growth and learning how to take care of my body and, create my dream life. And my story really, I guess, begins when I was in an abusive relationship when I was 14 to 20. And I just was very unhappy, unhealthy, and miserable, and decided to eventually take my power back and started meditating, started working out, started changing my diet, started communicating with my spirit guides, started listening to my higher self, changed my whole life, declared to God, universe, source that I will dedicate my life to supporting other people in some way. And then that started becoming part of my mission, but it didn't always look the way it is now. It started with helping people with health and fitness and becoming a personal trainer. And then it evolved into supporting people more with their mindset, because obviously our mindset is a huge piece of this, like your beliefs, how you see yourself. And then it evolved even more into more spiritual, energetic entrepreneurship, because that's who I am. I'm a spiritual entrepreneur. I have always been into the spiritual stuff, the mystical, the energy work since I was a teenager, actually. And it helped me so much through a lot of phases of my life. So I wanted to bring people together that were like me, heart-centered, open-minded, open-hearted women that are on a path of living out their purpose. And that's when I decided to create my community, Spiritual Boss Babe, which then, blew up, and created my podcast and started sharing my wisdom and things that I've learned on my journey with my people. And here we are.
That's amazing. I mean, I personally had such a huge block around creativity. I was very good at arts, but also maths. And I think that witch wound really kind of skewed me down the science route. So it's taken me a long time to come back to that. But I love that that was deep in you from the very beginning. And you were like, no, I'm never going to sacrifice that. So that's giving me goosebumps. So thank you for sharing your story. It's incredible. And like I said, you're one of the OGs. I remember
Mhm.
when I first had my awakening in 2020, you were one of the first podcasts. So you've been
Oh,
you've been
nice.
around a long time. And yeah, so I'm so excited to have you here to share more about what you've stepped into now around, helping people really shine their lights. So one of the things obviously is around channeling. So, what was your journey on really kind of stepping into that kind of channeling and really connecting to divine source?
Like with light language
Yeah,
particularly,
like
or
what,
just in
I mean,
general?
your initial connection, but then how that's developed. So, because I know, yeah, you speak light language.
Mhm. I would say that in a lot of ways, my art has always felt like channeling. And
Yeah.
I believe that, it is. We're all channels, but in a lot of ways, I felt that when I would draw or when I would make my crystal pendants, I felt like, something was working through me to create that. I would just get into complete zone meditative state pretty much and not even really know fully how everything was going to turn out until
Yeah.
it did. So I would say I was kind of familiar with that energy. And then when I would go on live videos all the time, the more I did it, the more in flow I would get. Now, I wasn't always good at showing up and speaking in these ways or expressing vocally until I worked on myself because I have a calling, right?
Mm.
When you have a calling in your soul, that starts to become stronger than any fear. So I started showing up more and more and more and more and more. And I feel like that started opening my channel more and more and more and more, where I would get into super flow with my content, my videos, my message, my everything started becoming more clear. I started to be able to articulate myself in better ways that really landed with people. And I started feeling more like myself because when we are open and express and are allowing our channel to be open, that's also allowing more of your soul frequency to like express through your physical human self. So you do feel more like you. So my path has kind of been just this journey of self-expression is really what helped me open my channel.
Yeah.
And that's really all channeling is. If you really like just take everything else out of it, it is like uninhibited expression without your mind getting in the way.
Mm.
And it's like, so it's when you're in super flow. And there, of course, are different ways that people channel and different things like that. But that's how I like to explain it and
Yeah.
look at it. And the same thing goes for light language that opened for me during the psychedelic journeys over time back in 2020. And that was a very interesting experience that was more automatic and otherworldly, I guess I could say. But at the same time, it was also very familiar. And if I had to take all the galactic stuff out of it to make it very simple, it still comes back to uninhibited, pure soul expression. And I think there's magic in the simplification of that as well, that can tap us into freedom in so many other ways because it's the same frequency. The freedom that you feel when you're being your uninhibited self has a special energy to it
Yeah.
that attracts other experiences that are resonant to that. I hope that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, that really does. And I love what you said. You said something earlier as well about how when you're creating art, whether, that's painting or speaking or channeling light language, you have to kind of release all attachment and expectation of the outcome and just let it rip. So how did you kind of navigate that journey of kind of getting your head out the way of that expectation? Because that's what blocks the channeling and the creativity, and just saying, I'm just going to let whatever is in me out uninhibited. That's a journey. And I
Mm.
think that's something that we all kind of struggle with. I know I have.
Oh yeah, it's totally a journey. And I'll be the first to say, like, I'm not the life of the party, extrovert, loudest one in the room. And I'm actually pretty reserved, I would say. So like I feel like sometimes when people are hearing this and they're thinking, "Oh, like I want to unleash my expression, but I'm just like not that kind of person. I'm not like extroverted." Well, neither am I. And I like to say there's this quote of you don't have to be the loudest one in the room to stand out. A star shines naturally. And so my journey of really like getting my mind out of the way and like letting myself just flow with what I'm creating or what I'm saying or what I'm putting out there has been layers actually. I used to be mute in middle school and barely talk to anybody. I had so many insecurities and just not a lot of confidence. Even in my first entrepreneurial ventures, I stopped dancing for a while, stopped singing for a while growing up. And it was like the more I stepped into my power, the more I reclaimed like all of who I am and started owning it, but it wasn't always easy. So it was a journey of getting to the core of what was holding me back. It was a journey of inner child healing. It was a journey of like literally getting out of my comfort zone. I remember one of my first experiences of like really letting go was I was in part of this dance test group. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Sean T. He's amazing, the insanity guy. He's
Oh,
a
it
big
rings a
beach body
bell.
trainer.
Rings a bell, but yeah, not massively.
Yeah, so his name is Sean T. And he had a program called Size, and it was this dance program. And I was living in New York, and this was a divinely inspired meetup. Like a friend of a friend texted me and was like, "Hey, there's an audition today at noon for this thing. You should go." She didn't even live in New York. So I went, and then I met two of my absolute best friends, soul family there. And we all got to be part of this dance program. And we all got to work with Sean T. We had to get up 7:30 in the morning, go to this dance class. Like we were in the infomercial and everything. So, but during that experience, it was way more than just a dance program. It was way more than just like learning moves. It was for me such a profound experience of letting go, being seen, letting my body like just freely move, doing the freaking hair flip moves without like holding back or like toning down my moves and like letting myself shine. And I remember there were certain moments in that where I felt really self-conscious. There was one time we had to do this little catwalk thing where everybody like got in rows and each person had to go down this catwalk and dance down it. And I remember cringing, thinking I wanted nothing to fucking do with that. I was like, there's no way. There's no way I'm doing that. But I did it and I kept showing up for that. And that was like a couple month journey. And that was one of my first like really deep experiences of letting go and letting my expression come through me. And like a series of events happened after that that catapulted me into just feeling more comfortable in my body and my expression. I know that was like a lengthy answer. It was a journey though of this. That was the first and that was one of the beginning pieces of the journey. And then once I got into plant medicine and things like EFT tapping and healing modalities, I was able to shift a lot more of what was actually hindering my expression and my belief in myself and my power.
Yeah. So you mentioned EFT,
Mhm.
plant medicine, and was it hypnosis? I think subconscious
Hypnosis, yeah.
work. Yeah. Do you bring any elements of that into your work now?
I bring all of it into my work, actually. I
Amazing.
even dance. Like I used to teach dance classes for a little bit, but I bring EFT into my work because it helps neutralize your energy. It's a really good practice of, I call it energetic alchemy,
Yep.
which is important to, alchemize any stuck energy that's been holding you back. Hypnosis is such a powerful tool for reprogramming your unconscious mind, of course, and dance, movement, another energetic alchemy practice, but also that's a practice of embodiment,
Yeah.
of being comfortable in your body, like letting your body move however it wants. Like I'm dancing in front of the mirror every day.
Love that. Love it. And there's
Yeah.
something so powerful about putting on your favorite dance track. Like, I know for me, I haven't stepped into the dance yet with my work, but I know it's coming because it's so powerful when we dance with intention and hold energy in our body. Like, when I manifest, I always make sure that there's a dance component to it. It's so powerful. So, yeah, whenever I put on my playlist, it just instantly shifts my energy massively. So, yeah, I love that you bring all of these tools in and you've created something that's just unique to you. That's incredible. So, how then shifting into social media? Obviously, you've been on this journey. So, it's been what decades of kind of peeling back those layers since 20.
Hmm.
And then when did you kind of start really stepping it up on social media? So obviously it's not been around for that long, but when did you start kind of realizing there was an opportunity to really get your voice out there?
I actually realized that very early on, but I wasn't the person that could do it at that time. I wasn't embodying the identity of a person that confidently showed up. I had to work on that. I had to work on myself. So back in 2012, I want to say, I had this like deep desire to at that time become YouTube famous for workout videos. I was like, I want to reach the world on YouTube with workout videos. I want to make a workout program. And I was really inspired by some other people that I saw doing it. But the problem was, I wasn't a personal trainer at that time yet. I just loved working out. And I wasn't necessarily, camera ready as far as my confidence and ability. So I said, oh, well, that must mean I need to become a trainer. I literally wanted to become a trainer just so I could make YouTube videos. It's so funny
I
to say
love that.
that. And so I said, all right, well, I guess I want to become a trainer so that I can at least have the credibility and skills to be able to like effectively make these videos. And about a week later, I was at my cocktail waitressing job in New York City, and all of these personal trainers came in and they worked at the gym right around the street. And I was like, oh my God, guys, like I just was putting this out in the universe. I want to become a trainer. They hired me and started working there. And then I realized that I could actually be supporting people with health and fitness through network marketing
Mm.
and also reach people from around the world. So at that time, I was like, oh, okay, I could do this YouTube thing. I could do this network marketing thing. I could reach so many people all around the world. I found out that there were these people that were making 6, 7 figures from helping people. And that was kind of when I really realized it. When I first realized it, it was in like 2012 at the massive opportunity.
Yeah.
The thing was, I sucked at social media at that time. I did some cringe stuff that I would never recommend. And I laugh at it now, but like I really did. I like, cold messaged people, like did the whole network marketing thing. Like I was trying to be authentic, but I didn't really know what that looked like or felt like at the time.
Yeah.
But I got better at it. And I started making different little workout videos on Instagram. I did my YouTube thing for a little bit, but I still was very shy. Then I started getting into personal development and showing up and showing up and showing up. So I was still showing up at that time and learning. But what was needed more than anything was me working on my own mindset and my own confidence in myself
Mm.
alongside of that. And so it was like this simultaneous thing. Then I, got better. And over time, here we are. I started my spiritual boss babe community and I was really nervous to show up. I was really nervous to go on live video. But again, like I mentioned a little earlier, that calling to go on live and to share my message was stronger than any fear. So I had to have this talk with myself and I said, action builds confidence and crushes fear. You have to just do it. You're going to not feel comfortable. You might suck, but you're going to get better. It's like I had this little pep talk with myself. And so I decided to go live and I started going live all the time in my group. And that's how it grew. And the more I went on live, the better I got. And the better I got, the more people connected with me. And I just felt my authenticity shine through. I was excited. And my group ended up growing to like almost 30,000 people. My podcast started growing. But then I realized that I could be even more direct and more specific and more dialed in with my communication because in a lot of ways I was very inspiring. I was very empowering, but I wasn't always attracting people who were like, fuck yeah, I want to join your things. And
Yeah.
so I needed to make a little bit of tweaks in, again, my mindset, my energy, my leadership, and
Mm.
also my message. And things have changed over the years online and with sharing your work on social media. People are a little bit more skeptical these days. There's a lot more people out there, which isn't a bad thing. It just means that we, as heart-centered leaders, need to understand how to build trust with our people, how to truly serve from our heart, not our ego,
Mhm.
and to be more intentional as we're showing up. And there's nothing wrong with channeling and being in your flow, but I think that there's a really powerful sweet spot that we can cultivate that allows us to still channel, but also to be intentional and strategic
Mm.
alongside that in a way that feels authentic for us. And that's what I'm really excited about sharing now too, because I can geek out on social media like all freaking day. And I've always been like into finding ways that I could share, show up, and even talk about my offers in ways that feel authentic for me,
Mm.
that feel good, that feel normal, natural. And that's kind of what I've been figuring out for my own self over the years and that I like to share with other people.
Yeah, it is a journey, isn't it? Because social media is changing every single day. There's always like some new kind of like functionality or feature that's popped up, and you're like, oh, I've got to get my head around that now. So, yeah, keeping up with all of that is incredible that you're doing that and you're showing people how to work with it. So, say Instagram, do you have any kind of practical tips that someone who's starting out in stepping up and being seen can kind of use and to just, yeah, shine brighter and to cut through the noise?
Mm. Well, the top thing is to keep your soulmate clients in mind. And this is the one reason why I call it SOULcial Media, is because you think about it like you're speaking soul to your dream clients. Like you're not on there to get likes and attention and tell everyone about yourself. You're on there to serve people.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's an element of letting people know you and sharing your story. But when you have your people at top of mind and you understand them and you understand, like, what are they going through? What are questions they have? What are they dealing with? How are they describing their problems and challenges? How are they describing their desires and goals? Then you can let that be your muse to channel for them through your content. And it becomes more of an intentional thing that you're doing, and you're not just like pulling things out of thin air. You're like really dialed into the person, the people that you're talking to. There's still space to do the mystical stuff. I like to just make sure I keep saying that, because like this doesn't need to take away from your creativity. This actually gets to make things easier and more intentional, because you're like, okay, I know my dream client struggles with being seen and showing up. She has insecurities come up around this, that, and the other. And she has this big mission and message to share, and that, what can I share with her today that will help her take action, have a perspective shift, or implement something that'll help her.
Yeah.
And so when you create content like that, where you know that it's like really helpful for your people, then it feels really good knowing that, number one. More people are going to want to comment to get your free thing, your paid thing, your wherever you're sending them. And you're going to start to build community easier, where people start to know you, like you, trust you, and connect with you, and see you as someone that can help them. So when you're on SOULcial Media, think of it like your energetic billboard. It's like your ever standing sales page, your energetic billboard, this full on like catalog of your work. And within your energetic billboard, you can have your content that shows who you are, or maybe your gifts. Like I do some light language here and there on my page. You can have content that is like really bold leadership content, where you're like, this is the results I've gotten from my client who was going through this, that, and the other. And here's what we did. And you kind of can show people how you work with people. You can have some content where you're educating them and or telling stories, and you start to like just build out this really robust SOULcial Media energetic billboard, where people could feel your energy, they could understand your expertise, and they could know that you are someone for them. You really want them to come across your page and be like, oh, this person's for me. So just think about what are some ways that you could do that.
And do you tend to just create on the fly, or do you batch? Because there's two big camps and there's also in the middle. So in human
I'm in the
design,
middle.
you're in the middle. Okay. Because in human design, I'm a manifester. So for me, it's like half of the month, I'm like, I need to be in my own energy. And the other half, then it's like, okay, I'm sociable. I can create stuff. So I tend to batch. But yeah, what's your human design? I should have asked what your human design is.
Yeah, you're a 6'2". Aren't you a 6'2"?
No, I'm a 5'1".
Okay, 5'1". I don't know
Yeah.
why I thought you were 6'2". I'm a 6'2". I'm a generator.
Amazing.
So
So you got
role
energy for
model.
days.
I do, but I'm a hermit. So like I can definitely go into my hermit modes of like deep, sometimes study, sometimes
Yeah.
creating. It can be
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so for me, I do both. I batch a little bit and I create on the fly.
Yeah.
But I would say it's a pretty in the middle. So I teach some of this in some of my programs and even my new social media guide, a little bit of it, because like it's important for people to find their own flow. But for me, I have a running list of topics that I add to. I have many lists actually. One of them is like my main brain dump list. One of them is like finished hooks that I want to share around certain topics. I have another one that's like talking videos. And so I literally just put one liner or a hook or a powerful statement that I know is something I'm going to talk about in my content. Like, for example, one thing I wrote and recorded the other day was some of my highest paying clients never engaged in my content. They were watching, lurking, and waiting in the background until they decided to take the leap. That was like my hook or whatever for that. So I made that into a carousel. I made that into a talking video, and I'm probably going to make it into a B-roll reel in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But what I do is I start with the list of topics. And so I try to make it an enjoyable process. So, of course, it needs to be an enjoyable process. But what I've been loving lately is I go for walks in my neighborhood a couple times a day. And so lately I've been doing like, okay, I'm going to record at least 2 1-minute videos on my walk. So I'll pull from my list of talking video ideas and I'll record literally 1 minute video. And I have a folder in my phone and I save my videos that I recorded. So I make it easy like that, where I'll either record videos from topics or I will have B-roll film from behind the scenes and I will save that in my drafts on Instagram and put the hook on the reel. So when I'm ready to finish it, I can.
Yeah.
Or I'll even put like the first slide of the carousel, set it up in Canva. So when I'm ready to create it, it's there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I batch. It's more of just like, all right, let's get the main idea ready. And
Yeah.
then when I'm ready to put it together, I will.
So it's like a shell is ready
Yeah.
ahead of time, and then you just fill it out when you feel the call to work with that particular one. So
Yeah. Or
yeah, yeah.
sometimes I'll feel the call to finish a few of them where
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
all right, I'm going to finish this. And then I'll either save it in drafts or schedule it or whatever.
Yeah. And do you
And
ever
and
get to,
sometimes I do things in the moment too. So
yeah, do you ever kind of run out of those? Do you ever get to the bottom, or have you built up a big
I
enough bank?
never run out. I have endless, infinite, never ending content ideas. And that's what I want everybody else to
Yeah.
freaking have too.
That ties back to what you were talking about before, where the more you step into your mission, the more you open the channel, the more you open the channel, the more creativity comes through, the more you attract
Uh-huh.
people. It's like a spiraling upwards, isn't it? So when the
Yeah.
channel's wide open, you're constantly getting downloads.
Yeah. And I repurpose my content, and you're going to be saying the same things a lot because it's your message. And actually, you want to be talking about similar things very often because that's how you become known for that thing.
Mm.
Most of the time, I talk about pretty much like visibility, standing out online type things. I talk about like identity work and embodiment. And I talk about energetic alchemy, vibrational stuff. Like it's really all around like visibility and manifestation and like being who you came here to be, but I do it in a certain way in my content that it just
Works.
hits. Yeah.
It lands. Is there a thing that you see people kind of doing wrong when it comes to social media? Obviously, not talking to their dream client, but is there like a big mistake that you think people are doing when they're trying to get their word out there?
One thing is I feel like they overthink a lot of it.
Mm.
And that probably comes from, a multitude of things, overthinking it and then not actually posting, or just letting their own insecurities or doubt water down their message is a big thing. Like they're not saying what they really want to say, they're sugarcoating it. And I used to do that too. It's not coming out how they really want it to, they're sugarcoating it. And so it's not really landing as much for their people.
Yeah.
And then consistency. Consistency is the main thing that people struggle with that I've realized. And I'm actually really good at helping people with consistency because I'm a very consistent person.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I think the consistency thing is big in part because they feel like they lack clarity, and then in part because they don't have a clear enough vision where they think that, oh, if I do this, it's going to work. So it's more of like well, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm saying. Like, what if I do all this and like it's not, and so that affects their consistency.
Yeah.
And a lot of this goes into identity work too, because I identify like my identity, who I'm being, is someone who shows up all the time.
Mm.
It's part of what I do. Creating content and showing up online is part of what I do. Just like my workouts, just like brushing my teeth. Like it's you know, a
Yeah.
habit.
Yeah. And the more you cultivate that, the more it just, like you said, it becomes who you are.
Yeah, and it can look different for each person. The way that I show up and the way that I do things might not look the same for someone else, and that's okay.
Mm.
You need to find what works for you.
Have you come across any kind of like key subconscious limiting belief around social media, well, social media that blocks people from wanting to show up and using it as a tool? Because it is a tool, right? It's a tool just like money is a tool. You can use it for quote unquote good or evil, you know. So have you
Mhm.
found a theme, a common theme that people really struggle with to use social media as light workers and spiritual entrepreneurs?
A theme that they struggle with,
Yeah.
I would say fear of being seen, mostly because of the witch wound or fear of rejection or abandonment. And so that holds them back from showing up or at least from being like fully their authentic self. And then just the overwhelm, feeling overwhelmed or pressured
Mm.
around showing up. And again, that leading to the lack of consistency. But fear of being seen is a pretty big one. I would say that that's probably like the main one. And this shows up in different ways for different people at different parts of their journey. So for a newbie, they might have this fear of being seen and they haven't even started showing up yet. And they want to, but they don't feel like they can go on video. They can't even, like, they're still kind of in that stage. Or for someone who's been doing it for a long time, has a following, people are engaged, they might experience fear of being seen in ways where maybe they want to pivot their message, or maybe they want to talk about something new and they're like afraid that people won't accept that or won't vibe with that, or maybe they are wanting to step even more in their next level leadership and share more like bold stuff or whatever,
Mm.
and they're not allowing themselves to fully go there, so it can look different.
Yeah, that definitely resonates with me, the journey that I've been on, because, yeah, it's kind of one thing to step in front of the camera. It takes a while to get to that point. And then when you're in front of it and you're talking about a certain topic for a while, and then you know there's something else coming through, that's quite scary, isn't it? To go to expand and say, right, I'm now going to start talking about this because you're worried about losing the people that you've already, you know, gathered around. So, yeah, that totally makes sense. So, moving on to embodying your star power, which is ultimately what this is all about, isn't it? Embodying your
Yeah.
star power, shining your light bright, and doing that on social media, you know, being that open channel for people to connect with the divine through you. So, yeah, like how do you help people with this? So, I know you have a program around it, but, you know, what is
Mhm.
in that program and what lights you up about helping people embody their star power?
This is something I get so excited about because there's nothing more freeing than feeling like your authentic self and being able to be a clear conduit for what's wanting to come through you. And so your star power is like your uninhibited expression, your owning the stage energy, like being really grounded in who you are, that it factor that we all have within us. It's that, again, uninhibited expression. It's what makes us magnetic. It's the frequency of your true authenticity. And that being what also creates the ripple effect in the world, the impact, the abundance. And so in Star Power, we go into peeling away any layers, any resistance that is in the way of you owning the stage and rocking the mic with your message in a way that maybe you haven't just yet. And so this involves getting more clear about who you're stepping into in this next level for yourself, what needs to go, what new things you need to adopt or embody, and elevating your message and brand to reflect that as well. So it's like stepping everything up several notches. I'm actually planning on making Star Power actually an event soon.
Oh, amazing.
And it's going to be like an experiential event that really helps you like break free from any constraints that have been hindering your expression through a series of experiential exercises and practices and journeys that are really fun. So by the end, you will literally feel like liberated and like ready to be seen and show up and blow up in bigger ways and allow God's source to like really work through you in bigger ways because your human is no longer creating so much resistance.
Yeah, I love that. So you mentioned exercises and practices. Without giving
Mhm.
it away, what are the ones that you do on a day-to-day basis to embody your star power, which may or may not be in your experience that's coming?
I could share some that maybe in the experience, but I mean, it's definitely going to get people out of their comfort zone.
Love it.
I would say practices that I do and have done. And so dancing, moving, like allowing my body to move however it wants to move, like completely freely.
Mhm.
And that actually has brought up a lot of emotions for me when I first started doing that because, our body holds energy. And when we allow ourselves to move freely, we actually move that stuck and stored energy. It can come out as emotional release. So that kind of thing. I really believe in the power of our voice and the vibration of our voice to tune our vessel. So I sing a lot. I tone or like make sound. Singing actually helped me open my channel,
Mm.
making little freestyle raps, singing. I'm not going to make people sing at the event, but we are going to do some exercises that unleash your creativity, let's just say that, in a really fun way. But yeah, so those things like that have helped me, but also surrounding myself with empowering people, which is
Mm.
why I love bringing people together. Like when you're surrounded by other people who are on a similar path as you, who are doing big things in the world, who get it, who are on this path, like you start to believe in yourself even more. You start to feed off of each other's energy. You start to feel not alone. It's very supported. So I love creating spaces like this, both online, and in person, eventually more of that. But like it makes all the difference when you're around other people to embody your star power way
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, no, that resonates completely because it can feel really lonely doing this spiritual work and in the community. Like you said, we're activating each other energetically and
Hmm.
opening each other's gifts. And I kind of see it as we've got like golden nuggets to give each other, codes that we're sharing
Hmm.
just by being in each other's presence and speaking and connecting. So what would you say is your like legacy for the work that you're here to do? You're here to empower the spiritual entrepreneurs, the light workers, the mystics, the healers, the channelers. What's your
Hmm.
legacy? What's your big vision? Like, what do you want to achieve in this lifetime?
Mm, that's such a big
I know.
question. I just feel this deep soul calling that, the more of us who show up and share our message and share just our uninhibited, authentic self, whatever that looks like, that we create a ripple effect in the world. We create the new earth, right? Like we're raising the vibrational frequency of the planet. And so the legacy that I want to leave is just to support even more people, like to come together, I should say, and just be our full expressed creative self and show the world how liberating that is and just watch other people transform along the way because I know for me I've been deeply impacted from other people who I've witnessed being their fully expressed selves, and there's something in all of us, I feel, that is wanting that, is wanting to just take off the mask and be soul embodied in this physical vessel. And so that's what I want to create the space for, to facilitate, and to even embody myself even more and more and more myself on this path.
That's so beautiful. And something that just came through as you were talking is the power of witnessing someone else on their transformation. It's humbling, it's freeing, it's deeply emotional
Hmm.
because, they're reflecting your own journey as well. If you're doing this work, if you're listening to this podcast, we've been on massive transformation. I don't know about you, but I wake up a different person every day. And I
Hmm.
think when you live with yourself, it's so easy to forget the transformation you've been on, and witnessing and holding space for others and seeing the breakthroughs they're having. It's so fulfilling. It's just
Hmm.
brings you so much joy. And then also you're doing that for them. They're witnessing you on your transformation. So I think there's so much beauty in that. So I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Like, because we came here to experience and express.
that. Mm.
And that's my belief. We came here to experience the full spectrum of life and to express ourselves. And the thing is, we've all been programmed.
Mm.
We're operating from a program that's not our own. And, from society, parents, this, that, and the other. And we come here as light workers, healers, starseeds, whatever you want to call yourself, to actually be self-actualized as your soul self in the physical. And how do we do that? We have to peel away the layers of untruths or distortions or old programming so that we can shine through. And that's what I'm all about.
So freaking love it. So where can people find you? Please let me know. And obviously all the links will be in the show notes. But yeah, where can they find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Instagram these days, kind of venturing into TikTok land too, and I'm at it's Stephanie Sage. So the at symbol, it's Stephanie Sage. And or spiritualbossbabe.com, or else I'll give you a link to something that you could share in the show notes for
Amazing.
everybody to
Love
check
that.
out.
Love that.
And also my podcast, Spiritual Boss Babe Podcast.
Love it. And if there's one kind of piece of wisdom or message that you want to leave the listeners with today, what is coming through you, whether it be some light language or some words, what do you feel like you want to share? Just let it rip.
Mm, to not judge your experience. Like, say you want something to happen, or you have this big mission or vision, or you're on the entrepreneurial path, even, and maybe you're not exactly quote unquote where you want to be yet. And this vision is so big and it's moving you to enjoy and embrace the whole journey, because there's so many things within that that actually support you in your mission. And so it all matters. So when we can move through our whole journey with excitement and grace and compassion and curiosity, it really supports your path, because this path of even personal growth, spiritual growth, business growth, growth in general is not always rainbows and butterflies, but it's always so worth it. So one thing that has supported me is to just really be grateful of the lessons along the way that are supporting every single thing that you say you want. Your whole journey matters, because there's things that show up in different moments that teach you a lesson, that help you shift your perspective, that help you let go of something, and that prepare you to really fully become the version of you who's already living in that reality, which you already are that person. And along the way, there are layers that get peeled away. And so just move through it all with excitement, knowing that it's already done. You already have everything that you need. And it's just a matter of, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, and that when can happen any moment. So just be present in your experience and enjoy the ride.
Love, love, love that. And it just reminds me of in tarot. I'm not a big tarot reader, but it reminds me of the Wheel of Fortune card, which is the luckiest card in the pack. But often the way the luck is delivered is not the way that your human or your egoic mind thinks is lucky, but actually it's an upgrade. And you just don't understand that it's an upgrade in that moment, but actually it's the right path for you. So that's just what came through when you were sharing that. And I love that, because it means that everything is always working out in the highest and best way
Mm-hmm.
all the time, even if it feels like it's not. So thank you for that. That was incredible. And thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute honor to have you on. Thank you for sharing all of your wisdom. Looking forward to seeing you over on SOULcial Media. And like I said, if anyone wants to connect, then all your links are going to be in the show notes, and they can find out how to work with you there and to embody their star power as well. So thank you so much for coming on. And in the meantime, sending so much love to all the listeners, and together we heal and rise.
Thank you so much for having me.